It's David Wowee. How you doing? Is Mazrika any good? Could she be the best support character of all time, or is she an epic fail? Here's how to use her, which teams, Grasta and equipment would be good, and most importantly, would I recommend her to you? And keep watching because I'll show you a clip of someone using Mazrika to make a level 1 character deal over 700 million damage in 2 turns. Before we get into Mazrika's skill set, here's how you can upgrade her if you only have her 4.5 star version and want to bump her up to her 5-star version. You need 1 Eurydice Memoir, which you have a random chance of getting from Snake Liver Damaku, another dungeon. Give that along with the usual mix of scripts to the old lady at Time's Forgotten Stop to upgrade her to her 5-star. If you want to Stellar Awaken Mazrika, you can do this by pulling her in her specific character banner, pulling her in another banner 2 more times, or by using 3 star charts. Check my Stellar Awakening guide for more information on this. If you don't have Mazrika Stellar Awakened, is it important to do it? Not necessarily. Keep watching to find out why. Now let's look at Mazrika's skills. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you're feeling generous, donate a thanks or become a super member for exclusive perks and content. Mazrika is a water element axe/slash unit who can set and awaken sacred water stance. Although she has a couple of damage dealing skills, what you'd mainly use Mazrika for is to be a support character. She's so good she can even turn a 3-star character like the Rainbow Sister into a killing machine, dealing about 700 million damage in 2 turns. I'll show you how soon. The good news is, as I mentioned, you may not even need to Stellar Awaken Mazrika, so the Stellar Awakening haters can sleep more peacefully tonight. So now let's look at Mazrika's best skills. And make sure to watch carefully because you might screw things up if you don't understand these skills properly. Also, I believe these skills are based on Greek words, so apologies if I mispronounce any of them. First, we have Soteria Phoros, which on the surface just looks like a basic attack skill, but it does way more than that, man. First, it does its obvious attack, which is an XL water magic attack, and the damage you deal with this attack depends on Mazrika's power. So if you want her attack to be stronger, increase her power. More on Mazrika's recommended equipment soon. Then here's the interesting part. This skill stacks 2 different stacks. One stack is called Soul Quell, which goes on 1 enemy, and this stack is designed to weaken that enemy it's on. Just remember the word quell from Soul Quell. To quell means to suppress, so a Soul Quell stack suppresses an enemy. On top of that, this skill will add a stack to an ally on Mazrika's right, and by right they mean the right of us, the player. And then it will give that character Link, which will completely change the game for you, but we'll talk about Link soon. First, let's talk about the stack called Soul Strength, which makes the ally on Mazrika's right stronger. So just remember the word strength in the name Soul Strength, as it makes your ally stronger. Okay, let's look at this so far. The skill Soteria Forest does an XL water magic attack, and then it stacks a Soul Quell stack to weaken a target enemy, and then a Soul Strength stack to strengthen an ally to Mazrika's right, or our right. How does this work exactly? The Soul Strength stack is interesting. First, it increases your ally stats except HP and MP based on the level of the enemy you've stacked Soul Quell on. So if you're fighting a super boss, that ally's stats can grow like crazy. The max level of an enemy you can get a stat boost from is 121. So if the boss is level 121, your ally will get plus 200 to all their stats except for HP and MP, which is nuts! A lot of super bosses have hidden levels, but we can only assume they're much higher level than 100. But one catch to this is, Soul Quell and Soul Strength can't be given to multiple targets. You can only choose 1 enemy and 1 ally to put stacks on, so choose carefully. I would personally choose the main super boss, obviously, for Soul Quell, and then your best damage dealer for the Soul Strength stack. So make sure you put the best damage dealer on the right of Mazrika as you're looking at the screen. If you think giving your ally plus 200 to their stats is nuts, this skill gets even better. Besides getting a stat boost, that ally of yours that got the Soul Strength stack will get Link. But this isn't just a standard Link. In this case, Link will give a water add-on attack after each attacking move. So if your ally attacks, their attack will have an extra water attack attached to it. What makes this better is that there will even be an extra water attack for each attack again move. But that is not all. This link also comes with bonuses. The attack type of this link can be custom to your ally's attack type. So if your ally's original attack was a slash, the link attack would be a water slash attack, and if the original attack was a pierce, the link attack would be a water pierce, and so on. But just remember, it will stay as a water element attack unless you deliberately change it with some tricks here and there, which I'll talk about in the team setup section. The link attack will also give an additional 0.5% to the AF gauge charge and a combo charge of plus 2%. On top of that, all buffs that your character has will also apply to the water add-on. This is huge. This means that any buffs the character has, for example, if they have an increase in critical damage buff, that link attack will also have an increase in critical damage buff. And if you think this is all good news, it gets even more epic. This link has a 3000% damage modifier. 3000%. Imagine one person hitting you in the face. Now imagine a line of 3000 people smacking you in the face at once. To see this in action, here's a clip of user 77AE's damage test where he gives Link to Daisy another style. You can see the link attack made by the little bird dealing a whopping 1.5 billion damage. And the cool thing about this is that Daisy S is an earth element and not water element, so this water link attack can work with anyone of any element. Shout out to 77AE, by the way, check their channel out. But there's one important thing you need to know. This only seems to apply to single enemy attacks and not AoE attacks, like in this video by Isaiah, where although his Mazrika gave Yakuma AS Link, his AoE attacks didn't have Link. That being said, and hopefully someone can explain this, but when Isaiah used Ash Tier's end of turn attack, Dimension Bomb, which is an attack all enemy skill, the Link attack worked. So if you know the meaning of this, let us know in the comments. Alright, how is your brain right now, bro? A lot of info was given with the skill alone, but to summarize, Mazrika's skill Soteria Forest does 3 things. First, it inflicts an XL water magic attack that gets stronger the higher Mazrika's power stat is. Second, it stacks Soul Quell on the enemy and Soul Strength on her ally to our right. Soul Strength will increase your ally's stats according to the level of the enemy you've stacked Soul Quell on, giving you the potential of a 200 plus boost to every stat besides HP and MP. Having a Soul Strength stack also brings us to the third thing that happens with the skill, which is Link, which gives a water add-on attack that happens after every attack move, can be buffed, and has a 3000% damage mod. Absolute ridiculousness. Whew. So that was just one skill of Mazrika's. Then there's Vrochi Psychis, which allows Mazrika to deploy Sacred Water Stance and give knockback immunity to all allies. If you do it again, you can also awaken another zone. Check my zone guide after this if you don't understand how zone awakening works. And for any allies with Soul Strength stacks, you can give them Barrier Pierce, which is great for bosses. Next is Melodia Psychis, which is designed to weaken a single enemy while increasing your team's defense and restoring your HP and MP. It reduces the power, intelligence, and speed of one enemy by 30% for 3 turns, and if you've stacked a Soul Quell on the enemy, it will double this debuff's effect and duration to 60% for 6 turns. In terms of defense, it will increase the physical and type resistance of all party members by 30%, restore their HP by 30%, and restore all party members' MP by 15%. If your ally has a Soul Strength stack, that ally will get double these defense boost effects and duration, and double the HP and MP recovery. So use Melodia Psychis to weaken the enemy, improve your defense, and heal your allies. Next is the Parakagia Psychis skill, which lowers a single enemy's defense while increasing your team's offense. It reduces the physical and type resistance of an enemy by 30% for 3 turns, and if the enemy has Soul Quell stacked, the debuff effect and duration is doubled. This skill also improves the power, intelligence, and speed of all party members by 50%, as well as the critical and magical critical damage of all party members for 30% for 3 turns. If an ally has Soul Strength stacked, that ally will then get double the effect and duration of all these buffs. So in summary, use Parakagia Psychis to decrease an enemy's defense and increase your team's offense. These are Mazrika's core skills. You may also be interested in Eleftheris Hypnos, a medium magic attack that inflicts sleep, or Ischia Therapeia that gives all party members a 15% 3-turn HP and MP regen, as well as a one-time status immunity. And also, as her Valor chant, if you move Mazrika from the reserves to the front line, she gives a 1-turn barrier and damage boost to your team. With these skills, you can do pretty well with Mazrika without actually needing her Stellar Awakening skill, which I'll talk about soon. If your Mazrika isn't Stellar Awakened, what are some ideal skills you should equip Mazrika with? One strategy you could use for turn 1 would be to use Soteria Forest to set up your stacks, buffs, debuffs, and link ability, and then use Melodia, Psychis, and Parakagia Psychis to keep weakening the enemy while strengthening your team. Now, let's look at Mazrika's Stellar Awakening skill, Eleos and Apnoi. Like with the Mazrika's other skills, it buffs up your team while weakening your enemy. If enhanced, Eleos and Apnoi inflicts a double XL water type magic attack on a single enemy, and its damage increases based on Mazrika's power. It doubles the critical and magical critical rate of all party members for 3 turns. Now if the enemy has Soul Quell stacked, you'll inflict a crazy 500% skill multiplier and inflict 3 stacks of Elemental Water Break. And if done during Stellar Burst, you inflict a 700% skill multiplier, but this is a weird one. Mazrika will activate Dreamy at turn end, which gives her guard, which allows her to take all the damage from an enemy while preventing her from being knocked out. The twist is, however, is that she can't move for an entire turn after this. Shout out to Isaiah for verifying this. Check out his channel while you're at it. So if you use Mazrika's Stellar skill during Stellar Burst, you'll deal a massive water attack that further weakens the enemy against other water attacks. Mazrika will then absorb any damage inflicted by the enemy after turn end and be prevented from being knocked out, but beware, after this she won't be able to do anything for 1 turn. Mazrika's passive Stellar skills include Battle Start MP down, which when activated and enhanced makes everything cost 0 MP for turn 1, which is great if you're dungeon clearing and you have a unit that can 1 turn clear. Mazrika also gets a Stellar activation bonus when enhanced. When Stellar Burst is activated and your Stellar gauge has Majority Shadow, you get another 3 turns to your Another Zone duration, which can be super useful against longer boss fights. Then we have the usual Stellar Burst gauge fill bonus. For Mazrika, when there are 2 or more Purgatory members in the front line, her Stellar gauge burst increases. Now, which skill should you equip Mazrika with? Let's say you have a Stellar Awakened Mazrika with only 3 skill slots. Which 3 skills would I use the most and in which order? Before you pick your skills, I would firstly pick which character in your team will be your main damage dealer and put that character to the right of Mazrika. And by right, I mean to your right, to the right of Mazrika as you see it on the screen. This character will receive the most buffs. Because you only have 3 skill slots, I would also try and avoid using Mazrika as a Sacred Water stance setter, as that would waste an entire skill and turn. Instead, I'd find someone else in the team who can do it automatically and can awaken the zone, like El Seal. More on team setup soon. So which skills would I pick? I would start with Soteria Forest. Besides the XL attack buffs and debuffs it inflicts, most importantly, it stacks Soul Quell on your enemy and Soul Strength on one ally. Most of Mazrika's skills depend on these stacks. This skill will also give that ally the all-powerful link ability with a 3000% damage mod and potentially increase their stats by that crazy 200. Then I will pick one skill between Melodia Psychis or Pirkagia Psychis. I choose Melodia Psychis if I want to weaken the enemy, increase my team's overall defense while allowing Mazrika to be an HP and MP healer, which can be very important with teams who run out of MP easily. I'll pick Pirkagia Psychis if I want my team to deal as much damage to the enemy as quickly as possible and already have another healer in the team. Pirkagia Psychis lowers the enemy's resistances while making your team incredibly strong. However, Mazrika won't gain healing abilities if you choose this skill. Lastly, I'd have Mazrika's Stellar skill, Eleos and Apnoi, so you can have that double XL single attack combined with damage buffs, as well as have that massive attack during Stellar Burst. One skill that may be worth considering if you have a 4th skill slot or are facing an enemy with a barrier, or don't have another water zone setter in your team, is Vrochio Psychis, so you can set and awaken Sacred Water stance as well as give your selected damage dealer Barrier Pierce. How about team setups? Who is Mazrika best with? The fact that she's a sacred water stance setter and gives that Link water add-on makes it clear she was designed to be best with water teams. And if you've activated the Stellar passive, she has a Stellar gauge full bonus when there are 2 or more Purgatory members in your team. But there is a creative way to change Mazrika's stats, and she may actually still work well with non-water teams. More on that soon, but a general good team Mazrika can clearly work with and are even recommended by another Eden Mazrika are Felmina Extra Style as your core damage dealer and pain setter. You can exchange her with other water damage dealers like Ismen Alter and Elula Alter, who's also a Purgatory character by the way. Alceel as your fellow support character and zone setter. I did a guide on her, so check it out. And Dunarith Alter, who's also a Purgatory character as your defense / tankish unit. A free version of this would be to have Rise as your damage dealer, Nona AS as your fellow support, and Aisha as your zone, pain, and poison setter. But can Mazrika work well with a non-water team? She sure can, baby. And Mazrika is so good she can help a level 1 3-star fire element character deal over 700 million damage in 2 turns. There are 2 approaches to this. The first is the David Wowee non-thinking approach, which is just chuck her in with whatever team you want, man. Mune for Alter was designed primarily for Earth units, but I use her with all elements, and she's perfect. And it looks to be the same with Mazrika because any attack character can benefit from her buffs. That 200 plus stat increase is amazing, not to mention the water add-on attack, which as you saw in the example did 1.5 billion damage with Daisy AS. The only thing you need to be aware of is if you're battling a unit that is resistant to water attacks, if you don't do some clever tricks and change the element of your team, which I'll explain soon, you may want to avoid Soteria Forest as it gives the water link attack ability. But without Soteria Forest, you can't stack Soul Quell and Soul Strength, which makes most of Mazrika's skills much weaker, which kind of makes her a bit pointless. So how do you change the element of your team? You need a party member who can appropriately use Kaleido, like Nekoko or another style. Here's how you can use Nekoko AS and Kaleido. Let's say you want Mazrika to support a fire team instead of a water team. First, you get a character like Aisha to set Raging Fire stance. Then you have Nekoko AS use Scintillant Spirit, which actually changes the element of the whole team to what the zone you're currently in. So in this case, the team becomes a fire element team instead of a water team. And look how effective it is with this video from 77AE. He uses the exact strategy I just mentioned to make the team a fire element team. And here's the hilarious part. He used a level 1 witch character with clean armpits to deal about 200 million damage in turn 1 and then over 500 million damage in turn 2, totaling over 700 million damage over 2 turns. Most of it thanks to the Link skill, which you can see right here. Now, what equipment and Grasta would be best with Mazrika? When it comes to equipment, if you're using Mazrika as a support character, you want a mix between speed and power. Speed because since she's a support character, for most cases you'd probably want her acting first so she can immediately inflict buffs and debuffs. Power because Mazrika's attacks deal more damage the more power she has. Because Another Eden is such a huge game that's constantly updating, I'd recommend going to the equipment section in the unofficial wiki to find the best gear for where you are in the game. Look for equipment that give you a good balance between speed and power. I've linked it in the description. But some examples are a level 10 Lunar Axe, which can increase Mazrika's speed by 30, and a level 10 Stamped Necklace, which gives the wearer 25 speed plus more depending on their Luring Shadow or Guiding Light points. As for Grasta, give Mazrika Grasta that could enhance her support. For example, the shareable Enhance if Max HP Axe Grasta will strengthen all axe wielders in the party, especially if you're using someone like Felmina ES, who's a fellow axe wielder. The Boost Proficiency Grasta will improve Mazrika's buffs, and then the Drain Proficiency Grasta will strengthen her debuffs. The Curse of Revival Grasta could be an interesting one if you want Mazrika to revive knocked out characters. The Proficiency Debuff Resistance Grasta may be useful against tough super bosses who debuff your strength and speed. Now, the final and most important question, should you get Mazrika? Is she worth pulling for or investing in? I would say if you don't have either of the current best support characters in the game, Yi for Another Style or Mune for Alter, you should seriously consider getting Mazrika. Her buffs and debuffs are from another world. As you can see from 77AE's video that I showed, her buffs are so good that she can turn a level 1 3-star character into dealing over 700 million damage over 2 turns. And lucky it's taking me so long to make this video, but we just found out that the upcoming new character, Jillfunny, will work perfectly with Mazrika. So if you want Jillfunny to do crazy damage and for a partner in the team to work well with, then Mazrika may be a choice you want to make, because she focuses on characters who do single enemy attacks, and guess what? Jillfunny does single enemy attacks. But in saying this, Mazrika does come with a few faults. Her Link water add-on attack may limit you to sticking to water teams, and changing the team's element from water to another element could be a bit fiddly and require to add someone like Nikoko AS. On top of that, the Link add-on attack seems to only work with single attacks and end of turn attacks. Someone comment if they have an explanation for this. Speaking of single attacks, Mazrika's major stack buffs only target one ally and it debuffs one enemy. But in saying that, her basic buffs can still strengthen the whole team, but they're nowhere near as good as having soul strength stacked. Would I personally get Mazrika? If I had more chronostones, I'd definitely keep trying to get her, but the gacha rates in this game are so low that it's almost been impossible to get her. I've linked a stream where people even sent me money to use paid banners to get it, and I still couldn't get her. Mazrika would be perfect for my water team, and I'd love to see my Fulmina ES and Ilula Alta deal absolutely world-breaking amounts of damage, but such is life and such are the gacha rates of this game. Like, subscribe, donate a thanks, or become a super member for exclusive content, baby.